Welcome to our tutoring session, and I will get us started by sharing our PowerPoint presentation. And nice of you to join us. What we have here is the aspiring writing. Let's get started on the slideshow from the beginning. All right. So fall 12-week tutoring, write like this: expressive and reflective or narrative writing. Week 1, session 1. The lesson is on introductions and pre-writing. So in this lesson, we spent quite a bit of time getting to know one another. These are student materials here. So what I do encourage you to do is to pause the video to see what the content on each slide is. So I'm going to go rather quickly to make this a shorter recording. And so we have our materials that are going to be useful. If you're watching this here at home, do you want to have a computer where you can access our Google Doc? If this is a trial lesson or an FYI, to show you what the tutoring session is like, then you can actually use a physical journal if you want. Pens and pencils will help you. Okay, so the content we're going to have here is listed here. We'll have an exit ticket as well. And dolphins are our fun theme for this particular writing session. Students will be able to introduce themselves and learn the behavior expectations for online group tutoring. Learn the writing process. That's our organization pillar, in a way that breaks the assigned 4-week essay task down, increases creativity, ideas that is, and skill, writing. And in parentheses are our 3 main pillars that make us different from any other tutoring, because these are foundational and these are built into the tutoring itself to make sure that we are not trying to come up with solutions that are not effective. We want to first make sure that we're covering the basics here. Doesn't mean that we're tutoring all these basics because we just support students with these. We give them the tools and we lace it throughout the tutoring so that we don't spend any extra time on these in particular. And our last objective, learn the difference between expressive and reflective writing by rereading a mentor text and highlighting each. And this is the mindset I like to begin with. And so I do encourage you to pause the video and read through this little story here, because we are in an interdependent environment of learners that are equally motivated. And so we have our learning trifecta here that we'll talk about. These are our class expectations. Think about the notorious Mount Everest climber. For them, community isn't just a nice idea, it's a matter of survival. You and I are setting out to climb our own mountain together. And on this journey, you'll need a Sherpa, someone who's been up the mountain many times before. Climbers face immense challenges, deep crevasses, high altitudes, and fierce storms. Without the right preparation and support, the journey can be treacherous. Just like climbers, you need to get used to the challenges ahead. We're not here for half commitments. We're going all in. On this mountain, every step counts, and that means fully embracing the journey. You've already invested time and effort to be here, and I'm part of your team, ready to guide you every step of the way. We have a learning trifecta that will be our foundation: habits, environment, and strategies. Community is what we're building here. But remember, you get what you put in. Help each other, stay motivated, and keep learning. We're all climbers on this journey, and I've been up the mountain many times, from writing and publishing numerous papers, articles, and stories. Our mindset is simple yet profound. Maximize our challenges to grow our skills. It's the little things that keep us from slipping down the mountain. Remember, there are no half commitments on this mountain. If you ever see me slip up, let me know. I need to be a good Sherpa. Happy climbing. Community expectations, I will let you read to yourself. This is part of what holds our tutoring together. We are respectful, ready, there's participation, and we regulate ourselves. At this point, we have introductions, and we're asking students what they're grateful for. And I encourage you to actually go through that right now. What are you grateful for? What are your wins? Did you make a good sandwich today? Did you let someone go ahead of you? on the freeway, you feel good about that. In your whys, like why are you in particular wanting to get better grades, better test scores on your writing? Is it for scholarships? Is it to get into Harvard? Is it to spend less time in frustration and becoming more motivated? We like to share that in our tutoring session at the very beginning. At this point, we do a 4-7-8 breathing technique, which we'll skip now. However, if you look up 4-7-8 breathing technique online, especially on YouTube, you'll find various videos that help you remain calm and to transition from what you were doing prior, whether it was a busy homework assignment, a football game, your chores, or a nap, or an argument with your sister. So when we come to tutoring, we lay all that aside and we are fully present. Writing our introductions. So what I do at this point is I introduce myself using a 6-word memoir. And I have 3 of these. One of them is a lie and 2 are true. Then the students introduce themselves using the 6-word memoir. Same thing. We try to guess which is the lie, which are the truths. We have a shared document, of course. And so I will show you that. And so I am a teacher who appreciates kids. I played bass on an album. I have 3 kids in total. And here are some other examples of 6-word memoirs. All things considered, I'm doing well. The past is forgiven, not forgotten. So we start our students out very gradually with the writing process, and we get to know one another in that process. Moving right along, we do a write like this informal writing for 10 minutes. Write like this. I do, we do, you do. This is good teaching strategy. Let's go to our shared document, Google Space Workspace, for some instruction on some expressive writing, Encyclopedia of an Ordinary Life. Okay, so again, we're going to land in the same place. And let's get the magnification up. There you are. And so in her book, Encyclopedia of an Ordinary Life, Amy Krauss Rosenthal chronicles her life in the form of an alphabetized existence. Here, for example, are 3 random entries. Notice A, B, C. And you can go all the way through the alphabet, which we will not do in the tutoring session. We're just going to try a couple of these. Amy Rosenthal, that's the title of this particular paragraph. My father-in-law informed me that my married name could produce 2 anagrams, hearty salmon, nasty armhole. I cannot tell you how much I love that. Here's another thing for A. Anxious, things that make me. That's things that make me anxious. Vending machines, I have to double, triple check. Okay, it's A5 for the bugles, right? Is that right? A5? I don't want to read the codes wrong and end up with the flaming hot Cheetos. But then, what a relief when the bugles come tumbling down. Yes, I knew it was A5. At this point, we ask students to do their Encyclopedia of the Life entries, and you can see some of them here that the students have actually produced. Here is mine. So if you want to amuse yourself, pause the video and read mine over here. I thought it's pretty funny. All right. And notice how we're gradually moving students into writing. Mentor text reading for 20 minutes. Here, the objectives are the students will be able to read and highlight a more developed mentor text, learn the difference between expressive and reflective writing by reading and rereading a mentor text and highlighting each. This is called a mistake that should last a lifetime. So here are the questions I'd invite you to look at and read these to yourself. Please pause the video as needed. What will happen is we'll have a second reading of this text, and students are going to color code in yellow to indicate where the author recalls the incident. That's expressive writing. And pink to show where the author reflects on what the incident means to her today. That's the reflective part. So expressive writing has to do with an incident or an experience that we write about. It's a personal experience. And the reflective writing is when we tell the reader why it's important, why it matters. There's some dolphins for us, but let's go back to the shared document. And we're going to have a bunch of these by the end of this session. Now, favorite mistakes. So let's back up. A favorite mistake is our next kind of writing. It's our next topic. Sheryl Crow has a song called My Favorite Mistake. And it has some very interesting lines here. Did you know when you go, it's the perfect ending to the bad day? I was just beginning. When you go, all I know is you're my favorite mistake. So here are some instructions during the tutoring session. And then instead of reading this to you, I will have you pause the video and read this to yourself. And I will go through this, a mistake that should last a lifetime. Okay. Let's stop right there. And then here's the next chunk. Here's the next chunk. And here's the next chunk. Looks like there's a lot more, or a little bit more. And finally, that's where the story ends. Let's go back up to the questions. Once you have read that, we're going to want to know, what is the writer's mistake? What details does she recall leading up to the mistake? Looking back at the event, what are the writer's thoughts today? What lasting impressions does the writer take from the experience? And then, of course, students will highlight the expressive part and highlight also the reflective part into different colors. Back to our slides. And finally, we are going to share with students what the writing assignment is. So let's take a look in our Google Classroom. Okay. The writing assignment here is actually going to be due in 4 weeks because each 4 weeks we have a different kind of writing based upon the needs of the students. So if students are enrolled in AP level, honors, etc. courses, they know that they're going to be analyzing literature. They're going to be comparing literature. So then we'll deal with analytical types of writing. Here, we're dealing with narrative types of writing. It's the easiest type of writing, and it, in fact, enhances other types of writing. If you are doing a very informative piece or even a persuasive piece, and you can tell a compelling story, your reader is going to be engaged and they're going to want to read further, especially if you have a wonderful introduction. Okay. So I'm not going to read through all these. There are 4 choices related to a favorite mistake: a mistake that shaped me, a lesson in disguise, the mistake that wasn't mine, my unexpected turn. Students will read through these and they're going to select one of these to write about. You can see here in the example, and by the way, this is probably outdated by the time you're watching this, but the point is on day 1, which is our first day, students, we went through the writing assignment and it's due 4 weeks later. The objective of the writing assignment is listed here, the week by week breakdown, so that students have a clear roadmap. And notice the 6 steps of the writing process here, which I didn't really talk about, but pre-writing is stage 1. Drafting is part of that as well. There's also peer editing. There's revision. There's editing and publishing. Notice here, it's very gradual. Then there are instructions for success, which you would want to read through. Finally, there are the particulars: format, the submission, the length, and the rubric. The rubric is also going to be provided. And I will get that shortly for us. Okay. So coming back to our onboarding of this lesson here, we find that we have been through the entire lesson sequence, and the optional homework is as follows. Now, some of my tutoring cohorts involve homework, but it really is optional because we design the tutoring so that students don't have to do that. However, some parents do want their students to take advantage, and their schedule will allow 30 minutes of homework, perhaps, per day per session. So, in other words, we meet on Monday, 30 minutes homework. We meet on Wednesday, 30 minutes homework. Friday, we have office hours. Take a look at this. Google Classroom, under Resources, find the Reading Adventure Journal. Start filling it in for the text we read in class. I will be posting additional paired text. Part 2, start filling in a circle map. I will post an instructional video in Google Classroom under Week 1. Complete a circle map for the 4 writing assignment choices. So the idea behind this Part 2 is that a student knows how to brainstorm using a circle map. We give students abundance of ideas, and that's what increases our creativity and decreases our resistance in the creative writing process. Okay. Then the student will have an abundance of these ideas for each of these 4 choices, but they only have to choose one. The reason I had them look at all 4 is, isn't it better to have 4 choices on a menu, right? Hamburger, chicken, ribs, and a chicken salad, rather than just being stuck with one. That way, students can decide. And that is pretty much it. Now, what I'm going to show you at this point.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so in Google Classroom, we have the writing assignment, which again takes 4 weeks. It's a progressive assignment. So we're learning by doing. We know what the assignment is from day 1, and each session throughout the 4 weeks, we're actually helping students towards the fulfillment of this writing assignment, which is due at the end of the 4 weeks. So things are very clear for the students. And let's take a peek here. We have the writing process listed here. So pause the video so that you can read that. We have the assignment. We have the overview of the tutoring itself, which we'll look at. And we have the writing rubric. Let's take a look at the 4 weeks. Now, I want you to pause the video and look at how we structure everything. Now, this is scary looking, but a lot of it is just teacher stuff I'm focusing on. This is just for me. Students don't really have to follow this. You as a parent or you as a student can kind of see where we're headed, right? You can see in yellow, we have the pre-writing stage of the writing process. We have pre-writing and planning on Wednesday. And you can see on Monday of the following week, we have planning and first draft. And then you can see in session 2 of week 2, the first draft and the peer feedback. Week 3, peer feedback, revision, and editing. And finally, in week 4, we have editing and final draft in session 1, followed by session 2 on a Wednesday, usually, editing and final draft. Okay. That way, students have an overview, a roadmap. And then finally, we have for the writing assignment. the rubric itself. We always want to think about the 6 characteristics or traits of writing: language conventions, sentence fluency, word choice, voice and audience awareness, organization, ideas and development. And then we have 4 different levels here. We will go through this so that students are familiar with how they're going to be graded on that writing assignment. And it's very holistic as well. Okay, so that is pretty much our session. By the way, if you are viewing this session and you would like the lesson on the circle map here, which I'll show you. Remember, this is part of the optional
Hello,
homework.
tutoring students. This is a miniature lesson in brainstorming, and so if you're choosing you and you just do so out of dreaming, and after I thought about that, all that stuff, so that
Okay, I'm just giving you a kind of sneak peek, if you will. And this is a 13-minute miniature lesson to help the student generate ideas that they'll use for this writing assignment so that they select the right topic that excites them. And anyway, so here's my tip for the day. If you're going through this in real time with your student, this lesson, when it comes to the writing, whether it's a 6-word memoir, the encyclopedia of an ordinary life, or even the drafting, you want to set a timer for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is, and play with that amount of time to where it almost feels a little uncomfortable for the student, because what's happening is the part of our brain that is not very decisive, it's the right side of the brain, if you will, or I think it's the left side, that tries to control everything and coordinate. That is not helping us. It's almost like writing a perfect piece of writing, a perfect paragraph, while at the same time trying to generate your ideas. It doesn't work. So we have to shut down that part of the brain that likes to control. And the way we do that is we use creative confines of time. We do this in the class. Students like it, and because their ideas are more creative that way. And that's what we want to do. We want to utilize that creativity. And remember the 3 pillars: ideas, organization, and writing. Okay, thank you for this, for joining us in this lesson. I'm going to stop the share, and please reach out to me if you have questions about this. And the 12-week tutoring involves, as I mentioned, 3 4-week units. One unit focuses on expressive and reflective writing. Another unit focuses on analytical writing. The third unit is to be decided, because some of the students might be in older grades and be looking ahead to the ACT, the SAT, other exams that involve writing, like the AP exam. And so, what we may do is focus on timed writing, how to be successful when you have a short amount of time. What are the strategies that have made me an um, extremely effective timed writer? Okay, take care.